Good afternoon. Welcome to the August 2nd, 2022 work session of the Portsmouth Planning Commission. Ms. Paddington.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Baldwin's going to be a few minutes late. He had an appointment right before this. But we're going to start with Julie Chop has a UP-22-11 for you.
Good afternoon, Planning Commissioners. This is Julie Chop, Principal Planner with the City of Portsmouth. This use permit application involves suites 3938 and 3940 in the Afton Shopping Center, located at 3800 George Washington Highway. The approximately 11.28 acre property is in the General Mixed Use GMU zoning district. To the north of the subject property are commercial suites within the Afton Shopping Center. Across George Washington Highway to the east is a two-story multifamily development with 250 dwelling units that is zoned multifamily urban residential URM. West of the property are single-family homes in the West Craddock neighborhood zoned URM. And to the south is the commercial vehicle sales and service establishment that is zoned GMU. The property contains a one-story, approximately 108,835 square foot multiple building strip shopping center and associated parking fronting on George Washington Highway. The suites designated for the proposed entertainment establishment, to be named the Bank Bistro, is 6,200 square feet and is located at the south end of the Afton Shopping Center. The applicant plans to operate a full-service restaurant with entertainment to include dancing and music provided by a disc jockey, live band, or karaoke. The establishment will be open Monday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. On nights in which entertainment is provided, the applicant plans to include several safety precautions, such as a 6-person security team, a single point of entry, multiple metal detectors, and body searches by staff. The project narrative also indicates that video monitoring will be installed on the interior and exterior of the property. The establishment will employ approximately 21 people in addition to the security staff. The security team would be on site when entertainment is provided. The conceptual site plan submitted with the application depicts vehicular access to the site from George Washington Highway. The applicant plans to utilize a portion of the existing 475 off-street parking spaces designated for the Afton Shopping Center to serve the entertainment establishment and restaurant. A 35-foot by 80-foot outdoor wood deck was recently installed on to the rear of the property to be used as a smoking area. The recommended conditions for this use permit prohibit entertainment outdoors and require the applicant to install digital video equipment with surveillance coverage of all sides of the establishment. Staff recommends approval of the use permit request with the recommended conditions for an entertainment establishment at suites 3938 and 3940 within the Afton Shopping Center at 3800 George Washington Highway. With the recommended conditions, the proposed use is consistent with the recommendations of the city's Build One Portsmouth Comprehensive Plan and is appropriate in this location. I did receive 2 phone calls regarding this application. One was from an owner of a commercial property adjacent to the site. He had concerns regarding potential impacts of property values. And I requested the citizen to submit an email discussing his concerns or to attend this public hearing. And hopefully he attends the public hearing, as we did not receive any email comments from him. And the second phone call I received was from someone who indicated that they would attend and they were in support of the application. This concludes my presentation, and I will now stand by for any questions from the commissioners.
Commissioners, are there any questions of Ms. Job?
I have one, please. You said that they added a deck. Is it going to be enclosed in the back, or will the deck be open to the alley?
When I went and took a look at it, it was open to the alley, like it was wood and they had different seatings, but I don't know if they have plans to enclose it or not.
That's it. Thank you.
Commissioners, any additional questions of Ms. Job? Thank you, ma'am.
That is our only application on your agenda today, so that concludes the formal presentations, but I'm going to do a presentation for you on the honorary street name change policy that what I presented to City Council last month.
I didn't see that part.
As you can see, they've changed the template for PowerPoint for City Council, so the two presentations couldn't be together. Take that for what you will. Good afternoon, Planning Commission. I'm going to give you a presentation this afternoon on the draft honorary street name designation policy that has been presented to City Council. And when I get to the end, I'll tell you what some of their comments were and where we are with the process. But the objective of the program, what I'm going to talk about is the objective of the program, the background of how we got here, the definition of honorary street names, the description briefly of what the signs are, qualifications for people, the application process, and the costs. So the objective of the program are to ensure that street name designations are honorary and at the discretion of City Council. As you're aware, for permanent street name changes, you get those before Planning Commission. And this program would be, and that permanently changes the name of the street. This would be an honorary designation and would not permanently change the name of the streets on which the signs were installed. And so, the streets would continue to retain their name, which would lessen the impact on businesses and residents that have that street as their address, to ensure that street name designations are accepted by the community and consistent with city values, and would also encourage the recognition of individuals and groups and their contribution to the community, where people wouldn't have to be concerned about impacting people who live there by putting a different street name up there. Hold on, sorry. So as you know, the city currently does allow citizens to request a street name change of the official street name of the city. And City Council can determine if that is honorary or permanent, but in general, those have always been permanent. This code section in Chapter 33.1 is the only place in City Code that identifies about naming of streets and indicates that they have to be, can only be changed by action of the governing body. And again, there's no other place. Staff does often get asked if the city has an honorary street name change policy, which we do not. It's been brought up before, but never has been put before City Council. And other cities, several other cities have a policy. So again, honorary street names signs are intended to recognize and honor citywide contribution of groups or individuals. The placement would be above the city standard sign. And again, it doesn't change the official name of the street. And so this program would just give City Council an option and a way to honor people and groups without impacting businesses and residents with an official street name change. So the proposed qualifications would be that the individual group has to have some historical or cultural significance within the city, that they've made some positive impact to the city, state, or country, and that it's well documented and accepted, and that will be part of the application process. Or it could also be that they donate money or land to the city. So as I mentioned, these would be placed on top of the regular street name signs. They would be double-faced, so you would see it in either direction. They'd be the same size. It would have the street name plus the word honorary. They would be brown signs with white lettering to distinguish them, so people would know, that it's not the official name as they're trying to navigate down the street. And it would only obviously be on local streets. We can't, for example, name the interstate. The proposed application process would be that the applicant would submit an application to the planning director, and staff would take a look at it just to make sure it meets the basic criteria. And then they would need to show that there's a justification for this and outline what the contributions of the individual would be. We're going to request that if they are honoring an individual, that the family or the estate, if the person is deceased, agree to it, so that you're not, naming something where the family doesn't maybe agree with what's going on. Then, the planning staff, like I said, would take a look at it, and there'd be a staff committee appointed by the city manager. Typically, that would be the deputy city manager, the planning director, the city engineer, some high-level staff that would then review the application and make a recommendation directly to city council. This would not come to planning commission. And then city council could approve, they could change it, they could disapprove it at their discretion. So we initially proposed that the applicant would be responsible for the costs associated with the design, fabrication, installation, and maintenance of the signs. City council questioned that a bit and thought, if we're honoring somebody and saying they're worthy of honoring, why are we making the applicant pay for the cost, and that the city should bear the cost? Other cities, we've gathered some information together. Other cities have a variety of approaches that they do. Several of the cities do pay for it. They don't require anybody to pay for it. Some other ones do require them. So we'll be making a recommendation back to council that, if they would like to have no costs associated with it, that is their option. Your one caveat there is that if it's all free, then you get thousands of them. So, I think you have to be a little careful there. So the next step is we're waiting for feedback from city council and any changes desired. Like I said, one of the things that they were concerned about is costs. One of the council members indicated that they wanted to see if the sign could be more decorative, more ornate. So we are collecting examples from other localities. Thus far, we have not found any that are more ornate. You have to be able to be within the public space and be fabricated and that sort of thing. We're not finding any that are more ornate. Typically they've got plus you don't want it to be too distracting for people driving down the road. But we're going to send some of those examples back and some of these changes back to city council, and then see what feedback they have, and whether or not they direct the city manager for this policy to be adopted. And so we're scheduled to send them back some information tomorrow, and we will see at a future meeting if they adopt a resolution to have this be a policy for the city. And with that, I will stand by for any questions that you might have.
Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Beddington?
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you. I do just have a couple of questions. I know you're just briefly giving it to us, but I did want to ask, in the historic neighborhoods, like where the signs may be a different color, are they still going to be the brown and the white?
It's a good question, because it's particularly in Old Town. I mean, I think the other historic districts have standard street signs, but in particular in Old Town, they do have different signs. So I'll have to put that down as a question. It's a very good question, particularly, like I said, in Old Town of how we haven't had one come up yet for somebody wanting to change the name, but it's a good question.
Okay.
Yep.
Another one would be if a street, is someone able to allow like a block versus a street? If a street has, 17 intersections, would each street be changed and added a sign versus, the one block where maybe they were born and raised?
A lot of localities, they allow one block to be renamed. It's not like all of Victory Boulevard, and certainly that would be up to the city council's discretion. Certainly if you're doing all of Victory Boulevard, that's a lot of signs. So I would think that, a staff recommendation would be that it would be for a limited length, again, so that, it kind of makes more sense on some of these larger streets. But yeah, in a lot of localities, it's like, it's one block and you have a sign on either end of the block. Thus far, we haven't put any of those limitations in the policy. But certainly, again, to kind of eliminate confusion, you probably want to have some limits in there.
Okay, and just one more question. Is there anything in the draft about like abandonment or, I don't know, if the person somehow fell from disgrace or, fell from their hierarchy or something?
Yeah, so what the policy says is that it's permanent unless otherwise determined by city council, and certainly, because it's not a permanent street name change, it would be very simple for city council to go back and revoke it should something negative happen. And again, you're not then going back to, okay, now what should the street be named? You just go back and remove the signs, which makes it a little bit easier. But again, all that would be at city council's discretion. But yes, it's not permanent because you can always come back and revisit it at that point, which again makes it a little bit easier to implement.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Donna.
Is there any additional questions of Ms. Paddington? Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Baldwin, it's good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's good to be here.
It's always good to be seen, I guess.
I agree.
Are there any additional things for the work session?
No, sir.
Okay. There being none, commissioners, the work session is concluded. We will start our regular meeting at 1:30. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you all to this very important meeting today, Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022, being held in the City Council chambers. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I will now confirm that all members of the Planning Commission are present by calling the roll. Commissioners, when I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner Williams,
Present.
Commissioner Thaxton,
Present.
Commissioner Coleman,
Here.
Commissioner Page, Commissioner Barnes,
Here.
Commissioner Curry.
Here.
5 members of the Planning Commission are present.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Commissioners, before you are the minutes of the July 5th, 2022 public hearing. If there aren't any changes, we are in need of a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of July 5th, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion and a second to approve the minutes from the July the 5th Planning Commission meeting. Commissioners, as I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Thaxton?
Yes.
Commissioner Coleman?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Yes.
Commissioner Curry?
Yes.
The minutes are approved by a vote of 5-0. Our next scheduled work session is Tuesday, September the 6th, 2022 at 12:30 p.m. City Council Chamber, followed by public hearing at 1:30 p.m. City Council Chamber. Items reviewed today will be presented to City Council for action at their September the 13th, 2022 public hearing or as otherwise noted. Planning Commission rules limit a speaker up to 5 minutes to speak. We also ask that everyone please silence your cell phones at this time if you have not already done so. Our first public hearing item, UP-22-11 Afton Shopping Center. Powerful Minds LLC requests a use permit for an entertainment establishment and a restaurant for suites 3938 and 3940 George Washington Highway in the Afton Shopping Center on approximately 11.28 acres of land located at 3800 George Washington Highway in the General Mixed Use GMU zoning district. The future land use map of the Build One Portsmouth comprehensive plan designates this property as a mixed-use corridor. The property is owned by Afton Associates and is identified as Tax Map 468, Parcel 3. Will the applicant or the representative for this application please come forward and present your application at this time?
Good afternoon, Chairman Williams, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Robert Barclay, and I'm an attorney here on behalf of Powerful Minds LLC. And I'd just like to make a few comments regarding this application and the staff report. We've reviewed the staff report, and the applicant is in complete agreement and is happy to abide by all the conditions that the planning staff has recommended. This property is currently an unused space in that shopping center. It will be called the Bank Bistro. The property is currently being renovated and improved for this use. Of course, it's awaiting all approvals before they can open for business. As the staff report pointed out, they will offer a full-service restaurant, and the purpose of the use permit is to request the ability to provide entertainment. And that will include both live entertainment, a disc jockey, and karaoke performances. Obviously, in an establishment like this, safety is the first priority of the applicant, and they have an extensive security plan, which will include surveillance cameras both inside and out the facility, outside the rear, side, and front, so including the visibility of the parking lot. They intend to have a complete security team. Mentioned in the application was 6 off-duty police officers. In addition to that, they plan to hire 12 additional security guards. So on any night of entertainment, they plan to have a complete security staff of 18 people. They would have them deployed inside the building and outside in the parking lot. And that will include, after closing, they would have security in the parking lot. There will only be one point of access to the property through the front, and that will be controlled by the security team, and there will be both a metal detector and individual wanding of anyone going into the facility. Also, that would include the noise protection devices that are mentioned in the staff report as the conditions. So no noise would come outside of the building. So you'd have a double door sort of entryway there. I've spoken with Bracy Parr, who is the chair of the Craddock Civic League. I sent him the complete package and discussed it with him in detail, and we offered to go to the Craddock Civic League meeting. They don't meet in the summer, and Mr. Parr told me that would not be necessary, and and he provided me no further comment in that regard. But I don't see anybody else here, so I'm assuming they have no opposition to the proposal. And I have with me the principals of the company. They're all present here, and either I or they could answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barkley. Commissioners, are there any questions of Mr. Barkley?
Yes. When they saying about they would have off-duty police officers, have the police officers confirmed, off-duty police officers confirmed they're going to be assisting with security?
Yeah, well, what they'll do is they'll hire individuals as they're available. I could, if one of these gentlemen wanted to come up, they could provide any further detail on that. But typically, within the Portsmouth Police Department, officers make it known that they're available, and employers such as this will get in touch with those folks, and it's usually done by word of mouth, I think.
I have spoken to several of the officers, like some of the ones that work at the other
Sir,
clubs.
sir, would you state your name and address for us, please?
David Lustig, 100 East Ocean View, Unit 1108, Norfolk 23503.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I've spoken to a couple of the police officers, so they know when we get close to opening up, that I've already spoken to them that we're going to hire 6 of them to be out there for sure.
Okay. When you said the security, are you hiring like individual security or like agencies?
No, I'm hiring an agency.
Okay. And my 2 other questions I have, 3 other questions I have. Will you have like celebrities coming?
We haven't really talked about it yet. Really, we want a brunch,
Okay.
and we want line dancing, karaoke, and be able to play like soft music also. Really, that's what we're looking for. We're not trying to throw big shows or big parties or anything like that. We want to be a full-service restaurant. That's our main objective.
Sir, I'm going to ask you when you speak, if you'll speak into that
Sure, I'm
microphone
sorry
for
about
us,
that.
please. Thank you.
Okay.
Did you have additional questions? Okay. Commissioners, are there any additional questions?
I do. I have one, please. Julie had mentioned that you had installed a deck in the rear of the building,
Yes.
correct? Is that area going to be closed off for the smokers so you don't have a lot of traffic in the alley?
Absolutely. We're going to put a fence up once we get to that part. We haven't finished renovating. We're trying to just get the inside open first, so we're not even going to open up the patio right now until we finished all that.
Okay.
But we're definitely going to have it like that.
All right, thank you.
Commissioners, any additional questions?
Hi, I have one question. I don't know if you can tell me offhand. Do you know how many people the building official has certified you to have, the restaurant versus the nightclub?
They haven't given us our occupancy yet.
Okay.
My last question, would there be good food there?
There will be good food
Okay.
there. 100%.
Okay.
Please come get some.
Are there any additional questions? Thank you, sir.
And I can't recall whether I gave my business address or not, but I've appeared many times, but it's 200 High Street, Suite 500, Portsmouth, Virginia, 23704.
You did, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Madam
Ladies-
Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP-22-11. I have no registered speakers. If there's anyone here who did not get an opportunity to register and would like to address this application, you may come forward, state your name and your address for the record, and you will be given up to 5 minutes to speak. Appearing to be none, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, this public hearing is now closed.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Commissioners, is there any further discussion of UP-22-11? If there's no further discussion, the chair is in need of a motion and a second.
I make a motion to approve UP-22-11 with conditions.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion and a second to approve with conditions UP-22-11. Commissioners, as I call your name, please reply with a verbal response. Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Thaxton,
Yes.
Commissioner Coleman,
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes,
Yes.
Commissioner Curry.
Yes.
This item is approved by a vote of 5-0 with conditions.
Madam Secretary, I believe that concludes our agenda for today. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Commissioners, is there any further discussion? Mr. Baldwin, is there any further business?
No, sir.
Hearing none, this meeting is now adjourned.